Welcome to the Simply Pediatrics Podcast, simplifying holistic healthcare for infants and children. We're so glad you're here. Join Jennifer Zethner, holistic pediatric nurse practitioner and holistic mom of 3 on a mission. Listen in as she shares the answers to the most asked questions from parents in her practice every day and offers parents practical strategies and actionable steps to support their child's health and well-being. Enjoy this insightful episode of the Simply Pediatrics Podcast and stay tuned for more information at the end of the podcast.
Hi, I'm Jennie Zethner. That's right, I'm here in my car. I don't know about the rest of you, but I find sitting in my car to be very peaceful. It happens to be one of the quietest places I have in my life. I have 3 children. I work full time. I'm busy like the rest of you, and I really would like to share information, and doing it from my car is most convenient. So I'm going to ask you to please forgive if there's any commotion behind me, any beeping, any dogs barking, ambulances, fire trucks, etc. I'll do the best I can to find quiet places. I assure you I will never be driving my vehicle when I speak to you. I will always be pulled over and parked. I am typically parked waiting for one of my children to come out of an event or something. So that is what I'm doing with my time here. And I look forward to sharing information with you. And again, forgive me for being a little unprofessional being here in my car, but I hope it works. And with that, let's get started.
Today's episode, Optimizing Your Child.
Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to be with you here today. We're going to talk about optimizing your child to get through his day. Really, this is like for our young school age kindergartners through to like really actually through all the way in through teenage years. Whether you're homeschooling or sending your child to school, how can we get the best from our children each day? You know, it's going to be relative to what's going on in their little lives, but what can we do? What do we have control over basically to help our children succeed and do well each day? So it starts with the night before. So the night before, we want to kind of prepare our children so that they can get a good night's rest. And so ideally, they've gotten a good amount of fresh air throughout the day. I mean, like hours of being outdoors is really what's recommended for children. Good for their immune system, helps them to go into like a deeper sleep for sure. And obviously physical exercise. There's lots of goodness to be had for being outdoors. And I'm surprised by how many families I meet that really like are outdoors, like maybe just a few hours a week, especially in the winter. So really outside each day in the later part of the day is really ideal for children to get that fresh air as they're settling themselves down and getting ready for sleep. Screen use. I don't recommend any screen use. When I say screen use, I mean iPhone, iPad, tablet. I do not recommend any screen use for children under the age of 12. So TV is sort of a different interaction, but there's still the blue light there. So minimizing or removing any screen use, including TVs, a few hours before bedtime is ideal. And the reason for that is because that blue light from the TVs, from the iPhones, from the iPad, and from any other Android device, tablet, etc., that blue light interrupts our body's ability to create and stabilize melatonin. And melatonin is created in all of our bodies naturally as the sun goes down. So as the sun sets, our bodies make melatonin to put us into sleep. And then as the sun rises, the melatonin levels gently, decrease so that we wake up. So depending on what time of the year it is, the sun's going to go down at different times, right? So be aware of that. And June 21st, my favorite day of the year, that's the longest day of sunshine. So the sun's going to set later. And so your child may naturally go to sleep later at that time of the year. And however, in, December, when we have our shortest day of the year and it's dark by like 4:30 in some parts of the world, you really, or even earlier, you really want to make sure you're putting them to sleep at a reasonable hour. So getting your child to sleep at a reasonable time so that they can get as much sleep as they need. So how much is enough sleep? Enough sleep is when your child wakes up on their own without being interrupted. So many families like leave alarm clocks for their kids, have to wake their kids up in the morning. If you have to wake a child who's still growing, which is most children, until, our girls reach, they're kind of done growing after they've had their menstrual cycle for a full year. And then boys can continue growing well into, 17 years old. So, growing children in general need as much sleep as they will take. And many of them will sleep 12 hours. And families are like, what? That's insane. That's appropriate. Children going down at 7 p.m. and waking up at 7 a.m. Very appropriate, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So be mindful if your child has to wake up early for school and you have to wake them up. I get it. There's sports and there's dance and all these things, but try not to make it the rule. Try to make it the exception that you have to wake up your child. Try to allow them to get that sleep in. And if they have to wake up early, then that means they got to go to bed earlier, right? So you can get some sleep. All right, so we're talking about optimizing our children to face the day ahead of them. So, the night before, the day before, making sure we're getting enough fresh air, and that's going to bring on our ability to fall asleep a little bit more naturally and more comfortably and have a better night's rest. So sleep and decreasing our screen time so that our bodies can get into like a good state of sleep, because the screens will cause us to not be able to rest easily. All right. And then we wake up in the morning. So many families don't eat breakfast. So many. So it's really, truly the most important meal of the day. And I know that sounds like so old fashioned, but it really is. Our bodies are like cars. I tell my little patients, I say our bodies are like cars, and they wake up, they have no gas in them. So where can they go? Not too far. They need to have fuel in their system. So optimal foods to feed our children when they wake up in the morning are going to be warm and cooked, iron-rich meals. And there's a few reasons for this. First of all, when we try to just have like a cold bowl of cereal or fruit or bars, many times children get stomach aches. And the reason for that is because we really need to smell foods to get like the digestive juices, the digestive enzymes, etc., kind of going. Essentially, the feeling of hunger is initiated by the smell of food. So when we smell foods, it assists us to feel hunger, and then our bodies are more readily able to take in the food and not get a stomach ache. So that's going to be warm and cooked. And I get it. We all work. How are we making these warm and cooked meals in the morning? Do the best you can. Make large meals. A hack in my house was always to make large dinners, and often some portion of the dinner or the breakfast was made at the dinner time, so I had it available in the morning, or just allowing for that time in the morning. Waking up and like your time and resources going towards that breakfast far surpasses the time and energy that most Americans put towards dinner, where children don't tend to eat dinner. So put whatever energy you can, whatever that looks like for you. However you outsource it, you cook it on the weekends, you get up earlier, whatever you can do to help your child get an iron-rich, so that's meats, leafy greens, seeds, nuts, beans, some vegetables and some fruit, versus the standard American diet of like a dry cereal, or really for many families, no breakfast at all. So again, we're looking to optimize our child so that they can go into their day optimally, right? To be the best them that they can be that day. And that comes with a good night rest and a good breakfast of hearty foods that are iron rich, that help us to drive through the day. And there's many studies that show us too that, these bigger breakfasts, even for us as adults, moms and dads, help us to be more productive, to snack less, to not put on as much weight, to really just have a better focus and energy, and etc. So really, it's super important. And again, I know how difficult it can be and how easy it is to just skip those breakfasts, but really try to make it a priority for your children. Skip the screen time for your kids in the morning too. Many schools know when when the kids arrive to school and they've been on screens for hours before they get to school, they're zoned out. They have difficulty staying on task. They have difficulty focusing on smaller, slower activities, because their brain's now been activated to move very quickly. And that includes YouTube that you put on your television. Many people stream that YouTube up onto the TV. So now we have these real fast moving programs and fast moving screens really up on our TVs that we call TV watching, but it isn't. It's still, kind of an app, a screen that kids are watching, overstimulating their brains. And this, of course, is not going to help them to be able to focus and be optimal for their day of either classwork or homeschool work or whatever it is that you're doing with them today. And Start your kids off also for the day with multivitamins, vitamin D. If you have extra supplements that your provider has suggested, many of my families also take a probiotic. If you are a family that consume a lot of animal meats that are not organic, which many of us are not able to afford organic meats all the time, a probiotic is mindful, and taking it in the morning before you start your day each day is ideal. And then also a multivitamin that's appropriate for the age of your child. That adds in some extra, vitamins and minerals. Much of our food is unfortunately depleted, so a multivitamin is optimal for children's health. And then vitamin D. Unfortunately, it's hard for us to all get enough sunshine unless you're living in like a real sunny state, and then perhaps you could skip this step. For others of us that either don't get outside to get into the sun or don't live in an area where there's a lot of sun, vitamin D is really important. So speak with your medical provider about an appropriate amount of vitamin D to give to your child each day. All right, that is it for today. Remember, parenting is a journey and you're doing an amazing job. Stay curious and keep learning, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining Jennie on the Simply Pediatrics podcast. We hope that the valuable information she shared in this episode will inspire and empower you on your holistic parenting journey. If you would like to learn more about Jennie, her Simply Pediatrics practice, or anything that she spoke about today, please check the show notes that accompany this podcast, and you'll find all the links and resources you need. You can also sign up for the Simply Pediatrics mailing list so that you receive Jennie's weekly newsletters packed with vital information and holistic parenting gems. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider giving this page a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any episodes. And don't forget to connect with us by sharing your thoughts in the comments section below. Follow Simply Pediatrics on any and all of the social media platforms. And if you're interested in an in-person or a virtual appointment with Jennie, please see the contact details in the show notes. Stay tuned for more episodes packed with a wealth of powerful information to support you on your holistic parenting path. See you next time.